Who we got here? D-Man. Absolutely. Social media changed everything. Mysterio from Winnipeg. I also think longevity for both sexes made it harder to go long term. In the 80s and 90s, I never really saw breakups as much as I do in the last 5 years. Facts. Those are absolute facts. Sesser says, people are viewed as disposable. We break up via text with someone else later and we're with somebody else later that day. Due to the accessibility of the next one, few people are willing to put in any effort into the current one. Putting effort into the current one for 300 Trebek. All right. Okay, Jeremy Bailey, good to see him from across the pond. I'll most likely be asleep by the time this begins. Early leg workout in the gym tomorrow before my chiropractor appointment to fix my shoulder injury. Fasting does wonderful as well in fixing those injuries. Good for you. Good to have you. Good to have everyone in the chat. AKS, there were more clean and lower notch counts of women back in those decades, I believe. Not by much, but notably less for a bigger percentage of women. I would agree with that statement. Lone Wolf, to see you. Women have too many options. How can you compete with 200 to 300 men on social media? That fuel of addiction and attention and validation is what has screwed it all up as well. Gerald Montagna is in the house. Good to have you. D-Man 50. Stereo, hello, D-Man. Lone Wolf, good afternoon to you, Toms. Mask Gang Guy says, watching once again from Memphis. Just finished banging the weights, and I feel like I'm on top of the world. Good for you. Good to have you. 90s women were better then. Well, I'll tell you what happened. You guys are all right. I mean, social media, technologies, the Kardashians have screwed up. Reality TV, I think, is really screwed up. If you really think about the media and the reality TV, attention, anything to do validation, Madison Avenue, New York. How are the relationships in the 80s and 90s? You couldn't really get away with a lot. I mean, cheating was, there was no cell phones, so you couldn't really call. An answering machine might pick it up. I think some people maybe had affairs based on the person calling their work and talking that way, or meeting at work or something. Something completely different. 80s and 90s seem to be, in my book, in my worldview, in my experience, I had a girlfriend. She did eventually went on a mission trip when I was 17 and got with some guy and went and eventually married the guy. They're still married, but so there's always that monkey branching hypergamous standpoint, but it was not as transparent as it is today. How about that? Technology's really effed it up. And the thing is, technology's made everything transparent. Simple as that. They don't care anymore. But 80s and 90s were a hell of a lot different. Had a great time. Chicks actually wanted to hang around guys. They seemed to, there was still that flirtatious vibe, but it was a lot easier. People had girlfriends. All my friends had girlfriends. They break up, they get with someone else, but everybody had relationships. Everybody, you could go out with different types of gals. Not like it is today. Darren says, I'm just learning at age 51. Thank you from the UK. Good to have you, Darren. Got a few of you guys in here. Jeremy Bailey's from the UK. George P is from the UK. Wes in the house, 5 years of freedom. Pretty sure I lost my virginity in 90. I can attest that in the 90s, things took a lot longer to develop and happen, but the end results were the same. Correct. Yeah, throwing down on the first day was pretty rare, right? You had to earn it. Seafood's back in the house. Good to see Seafood out of Boise. JR in the house. Oh, here we go, JR. Good to see you. Jerron Markel from Brooklyn. Ooh, changed his, look at that handsome man. Changed his avatar. Yo, Raz, so I'll be back on my shit. Creatine, monohydrate, time to bulk up, and I'm gunning for 225. I'm 215. Dang. That's putting some weight on, but yeah, good for you. 90s were a great decade overall. TV shows, music, sports, great times. Things were more More authentic. How about that? I got married in 81, but I can tell you about that before. You sure can. 30-something years married, right? Been around women since the mid-70s. Women did have their hypergamy under control, but their character was under relentless attack by the socially sophisticated, spiral to the bottom. And I think Tom makes a good statement here. Hypergamy was under control then. Now it's out of control. It's so transparent. They don't give a damn. Medications, antidepressants back then were there weren't a lot. The anxiety medications, it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So head meds didn't seem to be a huge factor at the time. Brad, do you think people in the U.S. are getting crazier in general? Yes. Yes, I do. Be free, Asia. Mr. Hemi, another one of my wrenches in the house. Good to see you. There was an indoctrination in the 80s and 90s, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. It is all planned. Correct. Things were a lot slower. Eventually it would catch up, as Tom Z said. But, things seem to be a more authentic. Again, female nature still existed. Male nature still existed. But I think people cared more in the 80s and 90s versus today. Now, the women are 98% of all women are delusional. 98% of all guys are simps, beta males. Yes, more people are not getting involved in relationships anymore just because the reality just doesn't factor in what's going on. Lisa Smith from Kansas City, good to see you. No one is individual or authentic anymore. You have to think the same, correct? The whole hive mind has infiltrated not only men and women, but it's everywhere. There was a lower standard, but you still had to do the mating dance. Correct. Well said, Sifu. And you usually had to take time to know someone before it happened. Right. We lived in a slower time. And over time, that just deteriorated. I thought the 80s and 90s were great. I loved it. I'd go back in a second. There's no consequences for bad behavior. That's why they do what they do. Please, no father figure these days. Plus, no father figure. Correct. Jedi Dark Force. A lot more fathers back in those days. Divorce was just getting ramped up, right? Late 70s, early 80s. But yeah, I think you had a lot of truth to that statement, Jedi Dark Force. 5 Years of Freedom says 1990 high body count was 4+. Now high body count is 34+. Yes. Back then, women that dressed like skanks were skanks. Heavy women were invisible. So if you were a heavy woman at that time, you did not get dudes. Now heavy women are out parading everything. They think that they're 9s and 10s and they're 250 pounds plus. No thanks. Well said, Wes. I think it was easier for women to manipulate men in the 80s and 90s. Samantha P. You think it was? I think it's harder today. I think it's easier for women to manipulate men just because of the internet. But you know what? You might have. I'd have to think about that. I never felt manipulated, but I'm sure that some dudes in the 80s and 90s probably felt that way. R&B was getting hot and heavy. There was more 304 shaming back in the 80s and 90s. Yes, well said. Yes, there was no slut walks. There was none of that crap. And if you were, people knew it and they kept their distance. Now they're everywhere. Good point, AKS. George P. is in the house. Life's too short to feel down. Don't let people put you down. Words of wisdom, George. Third wave feminism was where we were swerved. Feminism really did a doozy on society, and it's definitely backfired. But feminism caused loneliness, narcissism, deletion in all sorts, high prison volume populations, and nothing came good out of it. Frederick Jorgensen, the first live session I reach, it's midnight in Scandinavia. Well, good to have you here, brother. Always a pleasure, our Scandinavian brothers and sisters. Glad you are here. Also, there wasn't a lot of technology. Board games and puzzles were the thing in the 80s. Hungry Hippos, Hungry Hippos, and Parcheesi. Remember Mon-Chi-Chi, Mon-Chi-Chi, Mon-Chi-Chi-Chi, Mon-Chi-Chi. Funny, Hungry Hippos, and Doctor. Or what was that? Yeah, we try to pull the bones out. What's that called? I actually can't remember. Samantha, the women from the past weren't as open evil as they are today. If you're a good girl nowadays, you're socially beaten to the pulp by other women. Correct. 100%. They shame more, therefore people just lied about it more. Promiscuity has gone down. Father Saunders in the house. What's it good to see you, brother? Check out Father Saunders' channel as well. Sifu's channel. I'll keep, as we go down, we'll start letting people know where to go. Third Way became demanding and insistent. They actively rejected any patriarchy influence. Correct. Samantha P. making a very correct statement. They just didn't post it all over the internet the way girls do now. I mean, they're letting their medical diagnosis. One Fast Act is a bunch of little videos of women taking head meds and how they're just open. Oh, I just took Wellbutrin, Xanax, and blah, 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 blah. There's women out telling how many body counts they have. It's ridiculous. Back then, there were no dating apps, correct, or social media. Thank you, D-Man, for hosting and wrenching with Hemi, Jerron. The homie Giga Chad Rad, great to see another live stream. Good to have you, brother, FJT. Check out FJT's channel as well. It's got some fun stuff. Feminism is a mental disorder and simping is too. Well said. Today, they're openly evil. Well, they're just more transparent. That's all. They don't care anymore. Why? Because there's got so many guys that line up, as Lone Wolf says, 200 to 300 messages a day. Operation, that's it. You guys are right. For some reason, I forgot about it. I've been saying this. The 304 feminists are a problem, but the lower tier peacefully worshiping simps are the big problem. Well said, brother. Well said. Operation was the game. We got to think about some other ones. Yeah. Sub out to Father Saunders' channel. He's got good stuff. Relationship have gotten so bad that now a lot of daughters from black single mothers don't have dates to the prom due to boys waking up to the BS. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see it. I don't think it's as fast as large as people think, but, people are definitely waking up. Absolutely. Simps worship the peace leave and let women get away with everything. Correct. D-Man 50, there's the link to Sifu's channel. Chris Mitchell, the Emperor in the house. Everybody check out Chris Mitchell's channel as well. Good to have you from Canada. Such a good song, Body Count, KTRK Radio. Well said, brother. The marriage was different because the law has not changed like in 2022. Only women have now more fight rights. We men have to suffer in many ways. Only if we choose to, once we figure it out. Well said, Europe. FJT's channel, check it out. Miktowski is back. Good to have Miktowski. Feminism has been fantastic for men. Yeah, absolutely. We should actually thank it for what it has shown us. And we can now play a better game by not playing the game. Multiple psych medications is multiple red flags, and it's all over the place. Damn, is it all over the place. The lamentations from women regarding where the good men at while casually racking up body counts like miles on cars. The men are not promiscuous because no one wants to get jiggy with 80% of them. Yeah, which leads into Wes's channel here, 5 Years of Freedom. Guys, sub out to that. He did a huge piece on the promiscuity of women and the Jezebel spirit. Very good stuff on his channel as well. Definitely sub out to 5 Years of Freedom. Yeah, high body counts for men and women are not good. There's some guy that's saying he's got 1,500 body count. That's not good mentally. Again, putting women center to your life. All you're doing is chasing women. You're not chasing purpose. And it's not good for men either. But it's definitely not good for women. Connect 4, Light Bright. There you go, Father Saunders. I remember those Connect 4. Put them in the little blue and yellow, red and black chips. Rad, did you see the video of a social mixer where only women showed up? I did. I did. It's a waste of time. I mean, think about it. Guys are waking up to this. I got to pay all this crap, and I'm going to be ghosted. Why? Why do that? Right? Why do that? Chris Mitchell's channel right there. Sub out. Jerome Markel. Why is it when a father abandons a child due to the mother chasing him off, he's a deadbeat, but when the mother aborts the baby, it's her choice? This is cancer feminism. Can't have it both ways, right? 80s and 90s, it was bros before hoes, and that meant something. Surfing, skating, getting some old man to get a case of beer was way more important than biatches. Skateboarding, we had Safeway where I lived. We'd skate Safeway at night, ride the curbs. The yellow curbs were all painted. We'd do slappies all night long, eat chips and nachos from 7-Eleven. Life was easier. A couple gals would show up. We'd make out with them. No phones. None of this, neediness to have somebody call you right away. What do you think most people are ignorant to the obvious fact? Why do you think they're ignorant to the obvious fact that the dating market since the 80s, where those people were dating and getting into long-term relationship, has changed the worst? They don't want to accept the reality. I think that's probably what is going on. A lot of people still live in the fantasy. Well, check out 5 Years of Freedom link. Thanks, D-Man50 for putting that up. Steven from Arizona. Steven, Arizona, greetings, Rad. I've emailed you a few times. You have. The YouTube overlords have returned me from the banished lands after a 2-year suspension for wrong thinking. Always watch the channel, though. Cheers. Hey, good to have you, brother. No? People don't like the truth. I can get up and show myself with a cut-off appendage and talk about it and show graphic images, but if I talk about how men are losing in the courts, you get sanctioned. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Europe says, feminism is a choice that women made. They want to live and ride the CC till they die. Ain't that the truth? Divorce was the highest. That was when the divorce was the highest. It's gone down since then. My son came and said divorce was 60%. I said, it's probably higher than that. Send my regards from Single Town Bachelor, Flaming Larson. All right, brother. Also remember that their latest tactic is having you set up an expensive date, then ghost you. Yeah. Foodie calls is what we call them out here. FJT, absolutely. I have to thank my Puerto Rican ex for showing me her red flags early. If it wasn't for that, I would have gotten married, then divorced. Well said, FJT. Check out FJT's channel. He's got some good advice on men, how to save money, especially in these times, what to focus on. Again, if you focus on a woman, you lose. Simple as that. You tell me how you win. Tell me how you win if you focus on a woman. And I think back then, I mean, there were simps in the 80s and the guys that spent all their time. I had a girlfriend, but I'd skate all the time with my friends. I was also in Boy Scouts and I was worked. So I had a lot of things going on. And, there's some nights I'd be like, I'm skating with like Friday nights, we'd go skate this parking garage because it rained all the time in Oregon. And then the next night I hang out with a gal. We didn't 24/7 hang out. Whereas today, there's a lot of simps out there that spend all of their time with ladies. Not good for the man. You got to focus on you. And they should have been a compliment. Well said, FJT. Jerron Markel, female marries herself, then cheats on herself and blames it on man and Trump. Somebody you know what? You know what's really sad? The current president just blames everything. He acts like a woman. Entitled woman, just blaming everybody else. Can't take acceptability. The guy, the captain of the Titanic, he didn't hit the iceberg, but he accepted responsibility because it was under his watch. Why don't we have strong leadership anymore? She is setting up an expensive date, then she isn't the one off the top. There you go. There you go, McTowski. Good to see McTowski again. Call Me Coon. How's the house doing? It's about time I caught a stream. Call Me Coon. Check out Call Me Coon's channel as well. We all good now that you're here. 80s and 90s, it was clear which girls were 304s. Maybe 5% were. Now busted out 5. Now it's unclear if, 95% are definitely in that boat. The CC will constantly be ridden. It is as multiple. It is the most maintained piece of equipment out there. The CC. Fat Belly John, Anthony, Cug Style. I heard that. This has got, you know what? Still a man. You know what? If that's your thing, if people are out there and they're buying PUA tactic, number one, tell me how it works. I just don't agree with that. PUA's back in the 80s now. No. Guys were a lot stronger back then, I think. I mean, every guy I knew, even the nerd skaters that I would hang out with, had girlfriends. And they weren't attractive, but it is what it is. Feminism wanted things to be the way they are now. A lengthy quote follows. Sifu, well said. It's hilarious, dude. I surf YouTube, and there are tons of prawn stars talking about one chick versus 35 dudes. Like it ain't nothing. Isn't that disgusting? 5 Years of Freedom did a deal about what it looks like, just being banged out. It's not good mentally and emotionally for gals. Remember, boys, nothing a female says this day and age is logical. They will use our talking point to infiltrate our spaces. The gym thoughts to get us back on the plantation. The chameleon purge. Well said, John Markel. That's going to go highlight Call Me Coon's channel. Divorce in 2022 is like a ticking time bomb. You don't know when the divorce is coming. Main problem is women compare themselves all the time with other women and bring the negative BS back home. Yeah, guys, you can tell a lot by a woman by who she hangs out with. Many dudes are like that too, basically emotional women. Yeah, most men today are emotional women. Mm-hmm. They are men that have emotional brains. One got asked what's the most amount of hookups she had in a day. She said 8. It was probably reduced from like 15. There's a gal Dak posted. She absolutely talks about getting rammed through, like it's no big deal. FJT, I agree. I don't understand the 1,000 body count goal. They care too much about what other people think about them. Who cares if you have 1,000 bodies? Laying down with many women isn't hard. Correct, Omundo. How about go and learn how to play Mama, I'm Coming Home by Ozzy on the guitar, or learning how to speak Spanish or French or Arabic or what have you. A skill that'll stay with you forever. Nailing tons of chicks is not an accomplishment. Obviously having sex for people that haven't had sex would be an accomplishment, but having tons of partner in the end doesn't really do a body good for male or for women. We're putting our focus on the flesh. Tell me what the flesh, the only reason you would focus on the flesh back in those days was to create a child, to create offspring, and if there was some sort of becoming one with the person. But as Rad says, love is just a 3 chemical concoction that doesn't exist. Sifu, the nuclear family must be destroyed and people must find better ways of living together. Familiarity creates complacency. How different was the dating world in the 80s in terms of 20% of men having 80% of the women in your... I think it was not that high. I mean, obviously, good-looking dudes got good-looking gals, but my sister was very attractive. She had ugly boyfriends, ugly nerds. And she also went out with popular soccer stars. Back then, I think women concentrated more on what was inside of the man. I saw a lot of ugly couples, like a hot chick, ugly dude, or a handsome guy, ugly chick. Hey, you come here often, 80s and 90s. That's what it was. That's what it was. Well said, Wes. Their body counts are in the triple digits, and divorce is actually in the very high 80%. That's totally a good deal, right? Correct. Laid it down to Chinatown, Chris Mitchell. The 80s and 90s were full of white knights. These are the year of reckoning for thoughts. Gen Z men are slowly realizing who the prize is. Singles Mixer. What a joke Singles Mixer was. Whatever his ultimate meaning, the breakup of families now is an objectively is a revolutionary process. Well, that's what they want. Get rid of the man. Make the boys feminine, the women masculine. Shinobi Juan back. Good to have you, brother. 80s and 90s pickup line. Hey, you come here often? 2022. Hey, how many times have you came today? That's exactly what feminists and communists say. Well said. Have Shinobi back. Polska Bob, good to see you, brother. Another one of my wrenches. If you look at the type of women there are out there, banging a whole bunch definitely isn't an achievement now. Especially, yeah, you're going to be banging out gorditas and, heavies. And yeah, that's no, yeah. 90s were better in regards of women. It went downhill since. I would agree with that statement. Women just seemed more attractive in those days. Their personalities were, a little bit better. How about that? Polska's in traffic delivering flowers. Girls in Jordache pants and fire hydrant block parties. Those are the days. Now they have these fat, obese globs of chocolate vanilla scoops on Billboard now. Well said. Jordache, Guess, Esprit. Remember all those gals that wear the jeans with the zippers on the side? 2022 is worldwide hookup culture. Women lie all the time. They want to taste every kind of CC. They don't know what they want. For me, that's the biggest red flag. It's called childish behavior. Couldn't agree more. There's nothing wrong with nerds. I love Revenge of the Nerds. Now, there's nothing wrong with the guy going his own way, whatever that may be. And back then, people got together based on it. Didn't matter. I mean, the popular jocks got together with popular women, but they're like computer guys that had girlfriends too. So I mean, it was a different world where I grew up. Seriously, podcast. So good to have you. Where are you from? Most people are children that never grow up. MGTOW is the way. Men going their own ways. A man flies his own plane. No woman should have to deny herself any opportunities because of her special responsibilities to her children. That's the truth. The Muppet Show predicted what these females would look like back in 75. Remember Beaker? That was my favorite, an animal. Another good pickup line from the 90s. Haven't I seen him here before? Oh, yeah. Rad might have used that line before. Somebody big is in town, has enough money to use airport equipment to bribe privacy. Oh, interesting. Rad, what do you think caused the Buzz Lightyear flop? Tons are saying they didn't take their kids out. Yes, that's what I heard. Apparently, there's a Skittles agenda in it. And Tim Allen's not in it, which is weird. Betty Saab, it is not hard to define a woman. Me. Well said, brother. Where are you from? A man without purpose finds it in women. Ain't that the truth, Shinobi? Ain't that the truth? A man without purpose finds it in woman. I hear no more Skittles shapeshifters are allowed in women's swimming anymore. FJT, I heard that as well. You have to be transitioned by 12 years old. My mom used to wear Esprit jeans, Reeboks. There you go. Porky, the TV show. Samantha P says, 80s and 90s, a bunch of people making babies in the first 90 days and then getting married. Long enough to be divorced. They just didn't post about it. Yeah, you might be right. There was nowhere to post about it, actually, in the 80s and 90s. 80s to 90s purpose was marriage and children. 2022 purpose is to tell men not to get married and not to have children. Yes, the future of civilization without kids is definitely done. Everybody could be friends in the 80s and 90s, says the architect. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just stopping by to say hi and drop. I'll be home for a while. Good to see you, SCE. Let's see. Diago says, hey, Rad, you mentioned after divorce it's hard to trust again. Do you feel this undermines any chance of you having a successful... Oh, sure. Trust is something that you wake up to when you go through divorce and divorce courts. You're very cautious. But then it comes, do you believe in love, which I don't. Sexual harassment wasn't something that I worried about back in the 90s. Never even heard about that back then. Women can't bond with a man. I bang women all the time here in Germany. They have a Chad rotation in 2022. Only looks and money matters to these vampire feminists. I like that term. You're absolutely right. Was Beaker one with the small head? Yes. Yes, with the orange hair. That funny? Delusional. What's up, Rad? Just jumped from Just Pearly Things channel on the Beta Sims there and Feminist Talking Points. I had to leave, says Carl. Good to have you, brother. Ellie Londono, been with her 3 years. She gets engaged 2 months later. It's just, it happens, guys. You're not special. That happens to tons and tons of guys. I hear it all the time. Just got to move forward. No, Porky's the movie. Yes, Porky's the movie. The gym scene is extremely funny. The Skittles agenda is in that movie. It's in every show. My co-host and I are from the People's Republic of Portland. Seriously podcast. You and Scotty? Well, I went to Beaverton High School. I'm a Beaverton Oregonian, lived off of Murray and Shoals. Just got off work. I'm glad I caught this one on time. El Padrino in the house from Chicago. Families will be finally destroyed only when a revolutionary social and economic organization permits people's need for love and security. Well said. 90 today, gotta water the garden. Lisa Smith, I used to have a pair of Gloria Vanderbilt jeans back in the day, and they probably cost a lot too. I'm 42 and successful. I tell younger men, life is more than shooting your purple-headed yogurt slinger into a toxic dumpster fire. Well said, Stephen. Save for retirement, hobbies, get a dog. Great words of wisdom. These are legitimately the women that tried to sit me down and teach me how and why to manipulate men. Gen X, silent Gen. It's unfortunate, isn't it, Samantha? Scotty said are going to be leaving for Chicago. You guys drive safe. That's the agenda, converting your children. And my mother wonders why she ain't a grandmother. You're a forever aunt. It's happening everywhere. 80s and 90s, there were slutty women. There were also still good women who heaped abuse on them. Since 2000, pretty much all women agree that they have the right to sleep around, even within marriage. You go, girl. Eat, pray, love. Eat, pray, love. You go, girl. Lassie, the movie. To be met in ways that do not impose divisions of labor or any external roles at all. Seafood busted out the quotes today. Sunset High School. The gal I married went to that school. Dated a bunch of gals. I graduated in 1990. The ease and lack of shame to find a whole new salami rotation has women what they are today. It ain't getting better for them. No, the hive mind is not working in their favor. I don't think Rad is interested in LTRs. He's the 3 swings back. I'm working on my chin. I think I'm going to get a chin implant. What do you think about that, FJT? Mile High Ronin. In the 80s and 90s, divorce was frowned upon and shamed. Now divorce is just par for the course. Now it's the second hole in an 18-hole golf course. Linda Gordon from a published paper in 1969. Interesting. I'll have to check that out, Sifu. Been with her 3 years. She gets engaged 2 months after. Young Low. Hey, well, you're not special. That happens all the time. I've seen people in 24-year marriages, and 3 months later, they're getting married to a new guy. And they had 4 kids. There was still some sense of community in the 80s and 90s. Absolutely. First communities were targeted, then women, then families, and now children. Very well said. Communities. Things were more authentic. Things were slower. We still had female nature. We still had divorce. Things were ramping up. Head meds weren't just getting started. Just quit caring about them. Chicks are fun again when you turn that crap off. Love stems from we own them. We don't. Lavish Patch Kid, well said. I don't believe in love. It's just chemicals. I believe in actions. So what's up for this weekend? Who do I have to email and what email? Thanks in advance. Reverend 20 Peace. I trash talk, but I bring the receipts too. Why are modern women so lazy in relationship? They expect men to do it all, but also find time for her fairy tale fantasies. They live in Keanu Reeves' hopeless romantic movies. Notice, my brothers, all the supply chains broke, the economy is falling apart, and the leadership wants you on your knees and in debt. There's a huge food shortage on the horizon. Just, guys, get healthy, get out of debt, learn a skill, be optimistic that you can weather anything. No one is growing food for you. It's hard enough to grow, raise your own. Yeah, stock up, get peanut butter, saltines, canned beans, tuna, canned pineapple for the vitamins. Seems like things last with the new guy they get with. Phil D. Well said, brother. Good to have you, Phil. I'm telling y'all, we're just under the spell, and because times were better, people romanticize it. There you go, Samantha. Rad chin implants are cope. You need to pheromone max and take the black pill, bro. I should take the black pill and do a black pill convention. The rise of feminism caused the fall of masculinity. Too many simps out there. I'll keep saying it. Bunch of NPCs. Well said, AKS. Would you believe that without the internet, women were more likely to be content and happy with the average man, as she was not constantly made aware of the luxurious lifestyles presented online and in reality TV shows? This is the trophy generation all grown up. Everybody gets a trophy, Lisa. I remember coaching soccer and baseball and basketball for my little kids, and there's always some feminists. We need trophies for everybody. There are bots in here. I would agree with that. Actually, right now is a great time to be alive with all this shite happening. Gen Xers are actually the smarter generation, the late bloomers. Well, we grew up without the internet. We grew up without reality TV show. We grew up with when the TV would go snowy at 10 o'clock at night. She'll do the same thing to the next guy. Don't sweat it. The difference is he's going to be taken to the cleaners. If the lady leaves you, she'll do it to the same guy and guy. They don't change. Beers are in my garden today. Bees are in my garden. Jalapenos are coming. Ooh, I'm a big jalapeno fan. I've already made a few NFTs of my music, and I'll send you some more snippets. All right, on, brother. John Markell playing the keyboard. Synthesizer. Become the survival your ancestors wanted of you while you still can. We can survive. We got to change our mentality, and we got to be prepared. The difference between the 80s and 2022, no social media, smartphones. The women were supporting her man all the time, nice quick meals, and being a feminine frame 90% of the time. In 2022 are all masculine. That's well said. Women liked to do things for men back then, if they liked them, and if there was a mutual respect. There's always an exception to the rule, but things ran slower. Things were more committed. You couldn't, you just couldn't, I would say there was more of a foundation of morals back then. And I'm not saying the foundation was large and in charge, but there seemed to be more of morality versus today. Wes says, I'm not a prepper. As the strongest alpha on the block, I have access to everyone else's stockpile. There you go. I'll beat you up and take your lunch money. No one is alpha when the government is around. Ain't that the truth? When SHTF and people can't afford food, there's going to be a whole lot of looting. Yeah, be prepared, guys and gals. I'm not a prepper, but I have 150 MRE stash. Good for you. I got a lot of canned stuff. Are simps the only one who have lifelong marriages? Ask some of these guys, the content creators that are married. Polska's watering the garden. Thank you for the great content perspective. Always appreciate your content, Frederick. Good to have you, brother. Good to have you. Rev's in the house. Good to see Rev. Quitting his jobs, going to do his thing. See if he'll reach out to Rev about Chicago. The modern woman doesn't know what to look for in men. They need to read too much crap. They read fantasy. Remember, women live in fantasy. Thanks, 50 Shades of Grey. Great. I'm in the best relationship possible. I'm happy with myself. No woman required. And that's what we want men to get to, where they don't need people to validate them or make them happy, but themselves. Today was a good day. I ate White Castle last night, had a gangster fart saved from the vault. There's this lady that is a C word at work, and I farted as she was eating, made me smile. Why is that funny? My wife was just a reflection of my romantic impulses. Hey, whatever brings you peace, quiet, and freedom, right? The last woman I saw cooking meals on a regular basis were in the 70s and earlier. I grew up in the 90s, and all I saw at most homes was boxed, frozen, and canned food. Good old TV dinner started in the 50s. Yes, it did. And maybe TV dinners was something that screwed it all up too, right? I started teaching my son how to cook when he was 5. Well said. I was a victim of my wife's learning how to cook. Well, at least she tried, right? Women today don't even know how to heat up a burrito in the microwave. All right, let's shout out to Rev's channel. Rev is also a content creator. We got some good content creator. Polska's doing some content as well. I can attest to females doing more stuff for men back in the 80s. They knew their place and their role back then. Now it's a bunch of Marxist, communist, feminazi, woke, entitled victim mentality for 300 Trebek. You're absolutely right. The wokeness is another issue. You can't date a gal. There's so many gals who are like, if you voted for Trump, I'm not going out with you. If you don't support Skittles, I'm not going out with you. If you don't pay for, how do you win? Walk away. The only way you win is when you walk away. Call me coon. These chicks will try to convince you now how happy they are, but the truth is hilarious. Yeah, they're not happy. They are not happy. Happiness meter has gone down significantly since the early 2000s. Reality television, social stupid media, iPhones, smartphones, validation, Kardashians, this insatiable appetite to cake face themselves, put on fake everything, and then act like they're princess entitled. It just doesn't work. Men are waking up. Modern women act submissive to get all of your money and take your house. They're all actors, wear a mask, look at Johnny Depp and other celebrities. Correct. Buy a dog and die alone. I think buying a dog for a lot of guys is probably a good way to go. Right? We had dogs growing up. I don't have any dogs right now because I like to travel and I don't want to deal with them. And it's just, I have 3 kids. So, but I understand why people get dogs, and I understand, the value they bring, the companionship. I think that's a good way to go for guys. I think it's a great way to go to get hobbies and do the things that bring you happiness. You could be 50 years old finding a new hobby today. What's going to be your new hobby? Right? So it is what it is. You got to figure out ways to improve, whether that's getting out of debt, getting healthy, doing the things that we need to do to improve ourselves. Learn how to cook. Learn how to cook simple, so that if shit hits a fan, you know what you're doing. A woman who did not learn to respect and love her father ain't going to love you. Respect, absolutely. Number 1 red flag there. Find out the relationship with the father. If there's no father, she hates him, run. My dog stepped on a bee. My karma ran over your dogma. Same here, says Lavish Patch. Traveling. Yeah, I just can't, unfortunately. But I just don't want to take care of anything else. Kids were hard enough. Rad, you need a house plant. I do have one. Actually, it's on the table. Only one. I don't know what the name of it is. FJT says I'll probably get a dog when I retire. There you go. Samantha P says, cooking is so rare at this point that when my husband shows pics of his meals, friends and coworkers, they don't believe it's real or think it's from a fancy place. Hey, at least you cook. Cooking is a lost skill today. None of these females out there have a hobby. You know what their hobby is? Mirror watching. They watch themselves in the mirror and then they just look in the mirror. They're professional mirror washers. Everything's fake: hair, lips, makeup, eyebrows, high heels, padded bras, and yep, hidden cellulite. Yeah, go watch 90 Day Fiancé. You gotta watch it. It just lays it down. The delusion. I have to watch it because I see so many simps and entitled princesses. It just clarifies everything. Timmy Kramer, the Forever Bachelor. Don't get married. Advice from the beach. There you go, brother, in San Diego. This matters because I'm only a decent cool, but nothing that special. It's crazy to hear. It's fake. Good for you for taking 45 minutes. That shows you care for your husband. I'm 44 and buying a motorcycle and travel all over the East Coast is the best thing I've ever experienced. The Arctic. Good for you, man. What kind of bike you have? MGTOW Life's got an Indian. Thought about getting one, but in Utah, they're horrible drivers. And they don't watch out for motorcycles. Lisa Smith says, if you're going to name something, reach back to the 80s and get it Pet Rock. Pet Rock was great. The guy made like 10 million. Are you showing up on Friday? Well, that seems to be the plan. Monkey branching, even while being a girlfriend or a wife, that's their hobby. It definitely should be an Olympic sport, Jerron, because lots of them do it. We men only need peace in our life. Women in 2022 bring life and chaos and drama. I would agree with that statement. 98%. Rad does not recommend. Well said, Rad. Where they use a social gas, a mirror, we use it as a telescope. Right. Guys, think about this. I was thinking about this. 90% of women spend so much time trying to look a certain way. Their whole purpose is to look younger and prettier and healthier, whatever. Everything's external if you think about it. Everything is external to them, where men should literally be happy with what's internal. Learning a skill, an accomplishment, doing something, running a marathon, riding up a hill on a bike, fixing a motorcycle, fixing a car, learning a language, learning an instrument. The internal validation, where 98% of women are externally focused. Their whole life revolves around a mirror. Chicago, Uno Pizza. Be careful. In Chicago, says FJT. They say you're abusive when you don't bow to their every request. Phil D. That is the truth, my brother. You're verbally abusive. You told me no. No, I'm not going to spend $100,000 on a sailboat that will take out once. You're abusive. And controlling and abusive. Gets worse than monkey branching. You got to watch out for the salami smugglers. You got a Yamaha MT10 because why the F not? What is the Yamaha like? Volt? Is it Yamaha Volt, I think? I had a Yamaha scooter. I think they're great. Team Yamaha for the win. I'm on that team. That's because they were told every whim would be fulfilled. Every wish would be fulfilled. And every whim. That's what happens to princesses. I once had a lady that had a roast beef that looked like a Manchichi Manchichi. I wonder if she ever discovered a razor. Manchichi 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 Manchichi. I miss those graffiti trains in Brooklyn back in the 80s. I know that's defacing, but some of that graffiti was good. Those are graffiti artists. They do them on the trains out here, right? Animal feed last year, 180. This year, 320. Dang. It's almost 100%. Wow, the grocery store keeps going up. A woman is a woman is a woman, says Ian Blades. Did you ever watch What is a Woman on the Daily Wire? I would encourage you to watch that. Women in 2022 only use men. It's all transactional. What can he do for me? Love does not exist. Yes, they do not love you for you. They love for what you can provide. I used to have a Suzuki 450 GS back in the day. Is that the crotch rocket? Yes, extremely high crime, another great part of the 80s. Yep. Interest rates were extremely high back then, 17, 18%. Even 40 years ago, secular wives were cheating like mad. The only people who had real families in the 80s I knew were religious. And every girlfriend I had in the 90s cheated her way out the door. I never had a girlfriend that cheated on me that I know of. You always be the bad guy in her story. When they complain about an ex, always tell her he sounds like an awesome guy. Well, you know what? You are exactly what the ex is if you're dating some gal. You just have a different name and a hairstyle. Simple as that. Women don't change. They will do the same thing they did to you to the next guy. Stay ready, never gotta get ready. Well said. Why? Well said. Used to give my respect to graffiti artist seen from New York. Roast beef, tramp stamp, mouth like a sailor. I pump and ghosted after a few weeks. And it's not attractive. It's used up Arby's roast beef sandwiches 5 Years of Freedom talks about. I've only been to New York City once. Don't know, you guys. Ian Blades, the hairy midnight growler of the 80s. I'll take a cafe racer for the win. I'm a huge cafe racer guy myself. Maybe a Norton. A Norton or what's the other one I like? Triumph. Have a couple cool ones. BSA. Fixing out an old BSA. It gets better for men today. I saw a sugar couple. Old dude had a fine piece on his arm. Get your hustle on, guys. You'll have the last laugh. As Coach Greg Adams says, it's all transactional now. I will buy a bang bus instead of you. Oh, there you go. I'm going to be closing this up in a few, guys, so get your last comments in. Providing a lifestyle doesn't even seem like enough at this point. If anything, they are the targets for babies. Entitlement for 300. Entitlement is on display through sugaring. Does anyone remember watching Spectre Man in the 80s after school? I do. Triumph Bonneville. Hell yeah. Facts, Rad. Never give them closure. Let them figure out their demons on their own. Well said, brother. Proceed with caution. Know the game before you get into it. Haters call me incel because I isolated myself, but I'm exactly where I want to be. I think that word incel has gotten to be just really a bad connotation. It's basically your, I don't know. I don't know. You're not an incel. I think incels, again, put focus on what they don't have, which they get more of what they don't have if you focus on it. Young Lo, you showed me the ring she wanted. The next guy got it for her. She only wants things out of you. That's right. That's right. An older man told me that women were cheating back in the day, but I didn't do it as much because it wasn't as easy. He said there was one house phone in them, no cell phone. Yeah, we only had one house phone. He had a long cord. Pull that phone out. Last comment, even roast beef history can be modified. Supposedly labiaplasty is the most popular out there. I wouldn't doubt it. Wouldn't doubt it, AKS. Can't wait for the next video from Dak about Lexapro. How was dating like when you were in college? Not bad. I made out with 10 chicks. 90 to 95. Not bad. Thanks for your time. I always enjoy reminiscing of the good old days. Anytime, brother. There is a difference between the 80s and what we have today, right? Involuntary is an important word. Sure seems to be that way. Stating biological differences between male and females is misogyny and discrimination today, correct? I did a video, said men and women are not blank, and I got a strike. And I appealed it, still got the strike. Shout out to everyone in the room. Hopefully catch you guys on Friday. All right, brother. Thanks, everybody. Be well. We'll take Tasha Gibbs here. You'll need to get your life together and find yourself a woman because you're corny and you ain't talking about nothing and you are not my type. What is this? And thank you for your support and have a blessed day. I don't know, where's that coming from? I don't think I'm catching you. All right, Polska, let's see. Even cartoons were great back then. Now even they are full of feminist agenda. Well said. Shane, Good to have you, Shane. I think Shane's got a bunch of skateboards. You guys are great. Hey, let the haters come, good. Trolls. Spending time, useless time trying to get involved. It is what it is. You guys remember, rebel against defeat, chase excellence, masculinity, and men first.